Hello, my little lush wagons. How are you? It is I, Mr. Moohead. It is Monday, and that means it's yet another week of Moohead Radio, which is only twice a week, thank God, because too much Moohead chafes. Joining me in the chat room is Tony and Brian and Derek Frisbee from DF Sports. We are here to talk to you about all things Northeast Ohio sports. This program's been doing this for 16 years, and you've watched as my weight has fluctuated and my hair is slowly grayed. And we're going to keep on doing it now that we have at least 1 out of 3 franchises that has a chance of winning. Hello to Rick May, who I don't know what, Rick, you got to come back on the show.
Yeah.
I can't believe that you never got the problem fixed because it's not on this end. You should try it again. You never know. Sometimes caches clear and you would be amazed, but try it.
It'd be nice to see Rick's face again.
Yeah, it would. Absolutely. I miss him. And even though he's here, it's not like he's not here. But I have to start out the program with Days of Future Past. I mean, what do you do when you see this quote? There's no doubt I was lied to by ownership and leadership of the team, Huey Jackson said. They were going to be football plus analytics, but it was football versus analytics. He added, I think I became the fall guy because that was the narrative. The truth needs to come out. For other minority coaches, they need to know the pitfalls out there. My story has affected some of their futures. I want to get this off my chest right now, you cocksucking motherfucking asshole, Huey Jackson, revolutionary retard. All right? Here's the bottom line. You became the fall guy because you suck. You sucked every place you were at, and it had nothing to do. You want to talk about, minority coaches. I want to help out other minority coaches. You never gave a shit about other minority coaches. You didn't give a goddamn about that. You know what you cared about? Your power. The reason you hated the analytics people is you would never get a leg up on them in the Cleveland Browns organization because Jimmy Haslam got sold on analytics. And Huey Jackson is the biggest moron. The truth needs to come out. The truth is 1 in 31.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, that's the fucking truth. And don't talk about you were lied to by ownership and leadership. Ask Baker Mayfield why he handed you a ball. Nobody liked you. And it's because you're selfish. You don't give a shit about anybody but yourself. And you know what pitfalls the minorities need is not to associate with you. Get away from you. You're bad news because you've given nothing but trouble to every front office you ever worked for. And the reason you're saying this now is because we've entered this new phase of, I guess what some people would say, woke. And you are going to now play on the sympathy card of other minority coaches who are now, because of this horrible thing that happened to you, are going to now have their futures affected. I guarantee you one thing. Any black coach, any Hispanic coach, and white coach who's 1 in 31 ain't going to keep his fucking job. It ain't going to happen. So shut the fuck up. We're done hearing about you. And I'm going to get you, and I'm not going to have you jump in the lake. I'm going to fucking drown you in it. God, go away. He's in the midst of writing a book about his 2+ seasons with the Browns. Can you believe this? This is how sorry he feels for other minority head coaches.
And the really sad part is it's going to be more than 50 pages.
Well, yeah. Well, he's got to have a ghostwriter.
with large print.
Yeah, no, it has to be spelled correctly. He needs a ghostwriter. And he said the book will be out later this year, but he declined to reveal the title.
Oh, I can tell you what the title is going to be.
Oh, go ahead, please.
A
Title's
loser's
gonna-
lament.
No, title is going to be we're going to have to watch the film.
Yeah, it's like the motherfuckers fucked me over, no matter where I've been. Ooh, I'm a victim. Ooh, I'm a victim. Help me, help me. So much for Hugh Jackson. But somebody that we can feel badly for is Stipe Miocic. I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, I think he came into this fight knowing damn well that the UFC was really banking on the other guy. And Stipe knocked the guy out years ago, but it's kind of a different world now. And, I hear Stipe is going to be 38 years of age. I mean, this is a rough way to make a living. And he's done a great job. He's held the title for such a relatively long period of time. Not according. I mean, Joe Louis held the heavyweight title, by the way, so that you know, from 1936 to 1949. That's 16 years. I mean, we're not talking about Joe Louis long time, but by UFC standards, he held the title actually longer than Shawn Michaels did. I just love to piss all over Dana White. He's in his stupid ass organization. However, the loss was a convincing loss, and people are saying, "What should Stipe do next? And should he retire?"
He posted on Stipe posted an Instagram post, and in it he said, "I'm sorry for being a disappointment to the city of Cleveland." And it's like, dude, you're in no way, shape, or form a fucking disappointment.
Anybody gets hit with a shot, and the fact of the matter is, the guy's a big guy, caught him good, and
and then that overhead fucking power slam to his forehead that really fucking knocked him out.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the bottom.
It just doesn't it seem though like he was flustered before? Like it didn't seem like the last time where it seemed like he came into it real cool. Seemed like this time he felt like a lot of extra pressure. Like obviously you would as champion, but still it just didn't look right.
Well, I think at the same time, when the organization is banking money on the other guy, and I'm not taking anything away. How do you pronounce his name?
Francis Ngannou.
Ngannou. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him. He got knocked out a couple of years ago by Stipe because he was impatient. He came out and he walked into something. This time he was going to use his size. He was going to use his length. And he was going to really be a little bit more composed. Nobody ever accused Stipe of fighting the type of fight that was strictly a brainy fight. Stipe is not afraid to stand in front of somebody and trade. But in the beginning of any fight, you're susceptible. When you're going into the ring cold, it happens. And I'm not going to say, he should definitely retire. But the fact of the matter is, let's be honest about it.
Well, when you're that age and you're looking to prove that you still have it in the tank, the pressure's up. I mean, look at Conor McGregor. His last bout, how he got knocked the fuck out in like fucking 3 minutes. It's the thing about fighting in general, man. Once you get older, it doesn't do you any good.
And here's the other thing: guy like Ngannou, he's now the man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's got a ton of potential opponents lined up. I mean, you got Derek Lewis, John Jones. Which if that's the move-up fight for John Jones, who's considered like pound for pound the greatest. And if Stipe wants to keep fighting, he has to get way in the back of the line. All right.
Yeah.
And this is what happened the last time. he couldn't get back into the ring for a title match when he lost the title, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what, and in the MMA, it's all the worse because they always have names that they're promoting.
Well, this could be the fight that kills Stipe's career. I mean, look at George St. Pierre.
Yeah,
Was the number one name in MMA for all those years at that one fight where he got his ass beat, and I don't think he's fought since.
yeah. A lot of it has to do with
now he's a bad guy in the fucking Marvel movies.
if you're 38 years old and somebody says to you, you got to get in the back of the line and you got to wait for Derek Lewis and John Jones and God knows who else, then you have to stay active, and they're going to put you in with some young beast, and they're going to try to get you out of there. I mean, it's all about what's next, what's new.
And it's not like you have a chance every week to prove yourself. It's a long, drawn-out thing. And at his age, that's going to add up.
Yeah, I mean, there just isn't the time. By the time he would have a chance to fight for a title, he'd be 41 years old. I mean, and by that time, he would have lost. And
I'm sure he's looking at his bank account, seeing the millions and millions of dollars that he's made. I'm pretty good. I think.
Yeah, well, I hope that's the case, and he should. I mean, he's had a terrific career.
Like all the other guys, he'll probably just transition over into television or Hollywood or whatever.
Commentary.
Yeah.
He's done
Maybe
the
even
city
coaching
proud.
on their upcoming shows or whatever.
He's done the city proud. He has nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. But I would urge him to think long and hard about the long road back. I still watch the different fight cards that are on television.
Yeah.
And you see guys who you remember were pretty good fighters. They were the guys who were the fringe contender guys, or even in some instances had a portion of a lightweight or welterweight title. And now they're just fodder for the young guys coming up.
No.
I mean, and they stick around too long.
The young guys coming up aren't even really worth anything. Like, we have a guy here from Minneapolis. You might have heard of him, Caleb Truax.
Oh God! If I see Caleb Truax fight one more time,
he's no good. He's fucking terrible.
He wasn't great to begin with. Let's be honest about it. I mean, he did upset somebody to win a title. I watched the fight where he did it. He's slow-handed, slow-footed, and to be very honest with you, he's a sitting duck.
Oh yeah,
and he has got a lot of courage. I watched his last fight.
Yeah, that I forget the guy's name, but got worked for 10 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, but the longer these things go, the worse it is for a guy like Caleb Truax. I mean, but yeah, that's what happens to people who hang around too long, and I hope he doesn't do that. One thing I do hope, though, is this nonsense of Oscar De La Hoya saying he's going to come back at the age of 48 to fight a UFC mixed martial arts fighter, but as a boxing only event. I want to say something, get it off my chest about Oscar De La Hoya. I think that he sucked. All right. He was the biggest hype when I see guys who are the real deal, like Manny Pacquiao is the real fucking deal because he fought everybody, and yes, he lost. He lost in the ring, and then he came back and he won again. I mean, the guy is amazing. And then you have a guy like Oscar De La Hoya who quits on his stool. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya was great as long as he had a 15-pound advantage over every opponent that he fought. They would put him in the ring. Who was the guy who helped me out? The late fighter. He passed away. The one who was in the ring with oh my God, the big
not Marvin Hagler.
No, this was the big trilogy, and I want to say that it was like the 140-pound trilogy fights. There were 3 fights between these two men that were all and
Roberto Duran.
no. These are not big names. These are not the big names that. And somebody will think of it in the damn chat room because
it's not Scott Ledoux. I know that.
Oh no, it's not heavyweights. These guys were like 140 pounders. And the one guy's brother actually fought Sugar Ray Leonard many years before, and was his trainer.
Sugar Shane Mosley? No.
The white guy. He had a left hook to the body. Ward, was that his last name? Well, I'll think of it eventually. If you look up the best trilogy fights of all time, that's going to be at the top of the list. God, I can't believe I see his face just as clearly as day, and I can't place. But they put him in against when the one guy won the trilogy, the 2 out of 3 fights, and they put him in against De La Hoya, who was literally 20 pounds heavier when they stepped into the ring. I mean, that's what Oscar De La Hoya's career was.
Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti?
Mickey Ward, thank you.
Yeah.
And who was the other fighter?
Arturo Gatti.
Arturo Gatti. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And Arturo Gatti was found dead on an island in a resort area.
Yeah,
that was a tragedy. And but Mickey Ward, oh my God, Mickey Ward was one directional guy. But again, let him come back at 48 and get his brain scrambled. I want to see him done with. Because he's fucked so many fighters over with his Golden Boy productions. He's just not my kind of guy at all.
Did you see Tyson the other day confirmed that him and Holyfield are going to fight again?
Well, I had heard that he had gotten in the way because of the promotion arm. And I want to say that it's like Trillion or some,
like that,
I don't know who they are, but they're people who I think own an app of some sort, and they're trying to put these. Well,
Holyfield was tweeting at Mike Tyson that he wanted to be part of the exhibition deal.
Yeah, it's gonna be in one of those other exhibitions like he did with.
Well, but the last I heard,
it was Bernard Hopkins.
It said as long as that was who was promoting this, the answer was no. So I'm not sure. I mean, and again, it's whoever is promoting. Whoever promoted Tyson Roy Jones Jr.'s
exhibition. Was Roy Jones, not Bernard Hopkins? What am I thinking?
Yeah. Well, whatever group put their money behind that, they're trying to get into the senior boxing thing. And the thing is that Tyson wanted to start his own Legends of Boxing thing. So there's a conflict of interest. That's why I heard the fight wasn't going to take place.
Hey, did you know that that Mike Tyson's got his own podcast?
Of course I do. Why wouldn't I have a podcast? I just want to say this. I just want to say that I'm not the person who Desiree Washington. I would date her. I would date her in a heartbeat. I really would. I have no hard feelings except in my trousers. Yeah. People go on too long. The people that age. Do you know that Evander Holyfield's 61 years old?
My God.
What the hell? I mean, he should be carved into the side of a mountain. I mean, what in the hell does he be fighting for? Ugh. All right, we'll move on to something of more interest to our audience, like the Cleveland Browns.
Let's not talk about the Cavaliers.
No, that's not of interest to anybody. I saw Brian going off on Jadeveon Clowney. Go ahead. Feel free, Brian.
Oh, boy.
Well, it's shit or get off the pot time. Either fucking find a goddamn team or come on with the Browns and help them win. I'm so sick of we got to sign this guy. We got to get him a 9-year fucking contract if that's what it takes. It's like, dude, do you understand how bad you're going to fuck the team over when he turns into goddamn Alex Rodriguez at the end of that 10-year, $250 million debacle Do you understand that? He's not going to give you 16 full games. Not that you had 16 full games out of Olivier Vernon, but at least he wasn't costing you an arm and a testicle. Or putting you at risk at not signing Nick Chubb, Mayfield, some of these other guys that are going to have their contracts coming up.
Well, here's the deal. Why are the Browns still talking about Jadeveon Clowney and trying to get him here over and over again? We seem to have our sights on certain players like Tack McKinley, who we tried several times to get. And I think each time the price drops, we're more interested. That's the way analytics works. And, 1 year, $6.5 million for Jadeveon Clowney. Prove yourself, then you can get the big money on your next stop. This tells me something about the way the Browns are handling free agency. And that is, if we can do something that makes our good team a little better now, and I'm all in favor of this, put him out on the field. He's 28 years old. I know he's had health problems, but you know something? It's not like we got a lot of money's worth out of Olivier Vernon anyway. And at 28 years old, you never know. He might actually be able to play 10 of the games and make a difference and help you win 11 or 12 games next year.
And so, you know what the thing is, though? This is, with him visiting, this is the first time they've actually sat down and talked face to face.
Right.
So even though they've been interested, this is their first time actually being able to talk things out and kind of get an understanding.
I think Clowney is starting to understand what Rashard Higgins figured out. It's like, oh, you can sit and wait and play the waiting game. But, if people aren't really going to be offering you funds, you better start considering alternate destinations that maybe you hadn't considered in the past. And I think Jadeveon Clowney was not interested.
Well, but there's a little different situation with Higgins because Higgins was on the team and the team was fucking shitty. And so, for him, now, hey, we just won 12 games. We just went to the fucking playoffs. Let's put a contract in front of me and I'll sign it. And that was basically his attitude.
But that's the NFL. That's how a lot of these guys are. It's ego.
Well, look. Where you end up, some guys want to play in a situation where they see a team's on the upswing. Some other guys have a harder time with the notion that they're going to be in Cleveland. I think, J.R. Smith was a person who had a problem with the fact that they rolled the sidewalks up at 10 p.m. There are certain people who are used to being in the bright lights, big city kind of environment. And Cleveland doesn't fit that mold. Jadeveon Clowney is only being talked to by the Browns, who are in the driver's seat on this, because either way, it's a win-win for the Browns. If he comes in and says, I'll take your $6.5 million to play for a year, and we get a capable pass rusher, but he's good against the run. One thing that we can say about Jadeveon Clowney, he came out of college misrepresented, mislabeled, because people wanted him to be a sack master, and that's not what he turned out to be. He's really good against the run. And boy, I'd really like to have something like that in Cleveland, because it's been a long time since we had people who can consistently visit the backfield on our defensive front.
I think
Michael Dean Perry.
Yeah.
I think this game we had against the Titans this season, where we just stomped them, other than at the very end where they kind of came back, I think that might have been a little bit of a wake-up call to him, because I think the reason he didn't come to Cleveland was because he thought it was like the previous year, all hype. It's going to be the same story over again. I'm not signing. I want to win. Tennessee had all the hype. They went to the AFC Championship. They didn't pan out this year. The Browns did. So I think now his mentality on Cleveland might be a little different, because Cleveland's not exactly the number one city you want to go to, but is Nashville? I mean, I'm not saying Nashville is a bad city, but it's not like he's going to LA or to New York. So I think he's still open. I think now that he saw that we can win.
Well,
Nashville's a better
like
tourist
tackling.
destination than Cleveland.
It's also like tackling fucking Derrick Henry. You're better off being on his team than having to chase him down the fucking field.
I mean, what I think is he's not willing to accept that he's a one-year prove-it-to-me player. And I think that
Well, and he's not willing to. I don't think he's willing to compromise for the fact that every team has a lowered salary cap for this season,
well,
and how cash-strapped certain teams are.
Look, it didn't affect guys who were premier pass rushers from getting good deals. The fact is, he's just not one of them. And I think that it takes a long time for some people to realize where they fit in. And if you play in Cleveland and you get hurt in Cleveland, there ain't going to be no money deal. This is, I think, in his mind, and it tells me something about the player, which is why I'm saying if the Browns don't get Jadeveon Clowney, it was meant to be that way. I'm not even going to worry about it because he's not willing to put any risk into the equation himself. And where he is right now in his career, he has to do that, whether he plays in Cleveland, whether he plays in Tennessee, wherever the hell he plays. Nobody is going to just open up the checkbook for a guy who's kind of had, from a physical perspective, a checkered past. But what I like about what the Browns are doing is that if they do get Jadeveon Clowney for the $6.5 million for the year, it still doesn't preclude the Cleveland Browns from drafting a pass rusher because maybe they feel, hey, if we can get a year's worth out of decent Jadeveon Clowney and make us stronger against the run and give a better running mate for Myles Garrett, that's enough accomplished on that part of the field.
And rotation. You can have Clowney out there on rundowns and then bring in a guy you draft or Takk McKinley or whoever in a rotation where you can keep fresh bodies. Because Myles Garrett is often on the sideline for a few plays, and we can't have that.
It buys you options, and that's a huge thing. But there's even more to it than that. If you look at the Browns sitting at 26, if you go into the draft and you get Clowney, you say, well, we have needs at other positions now. What will we do with the 26? You can trade up and you could get your replacement for OBJ. You can get a real guy to target downfield at a big play, wham, bam, kind of wide receiver if you want to go that route. And people don't look at it. They say, we need that other pass rusher. What we need is somebody better than the injured guy who didn't play at all last year. That's what we need.
Well,
we need to get better against the run.
With the 49ers now trading up to 3, I think there's a real possibility that you're going to have 4 straight quarterbacks going off of the board. And you also got to account for Penei Sewell, who's a generational tackle, who's going to go. You got a bunch of receivers and Kyle Pitts. So, yeah, we can talk about receiver. There's not just one. So if you say, hey, I want this guy, you got a list. I mean, you got the Heisman Trophy winner who can do a ton of stuff. Jamar Chase, who opted out. People are forgetting how good he is. Jalen Waddle, just as good. Some people think better than Devontae Smith and Bateman and Rondale Moore. There's plenty of options. So it's not like you're stuck on one guy you have to move up a lot to get.
And here's the other thing that I keep saying about teams in the past. I'm not talking about Pittsburgh today, but Pittsburgh of the past, is that you always had a situation where if one receiver was going bye-bye, they were so sound defensively and in other parts of their game, they had a good offensive line and they had the running back that they needed at that time. They could just go into the draft and shift right in and get a guy and bam, they have another starter just like that. The Browns have never been in that position. We're always trying desperately to, pull the rabbit out of the hat. And we're not in that position now. We've done nothing really for our offense whatsoever. Okay? Everything that we've done up to this point, quite correctly so, was defensively. If you can make one move that makes your offense better than it was last year, that's not a bad thing. Because all you're trying to do, because you're going to have a harder schedule next year than you had this past year, and you're likely going to play 17 games as opposed to 16 games. And those things being the case, it's not a bad idea, to have extra bodies at positions, yes. But offensively, I'm still not Stevie Wonder overjoyed with Higgins, Peoples-Jones, and I'm not sure Landry's going to get up one of these times. You know what I mean? Running across the middle of the field like that, he's taken his share of beatings. And I'm not so sure that OBJ is going to really wake up to the reality that he's part of a team. I want to see the Browns keep the offensive side fresh and to give them one more weapon. They got the great running back, but we're lacking weapons at wide receiver. And I'm still not convinced that OBJ could ever really be a weapon, because he's not like Jarvis Landry, who can be a go-to receiver simply because he runs slick patterns and he has really good hands. With OBJ, it's more like the big play. And I would like to see a step up from Peoples-Jones, Rashard Higgins, somebody with a little more explosive speed that gives us a little in open space the opportunity when we lull teams to sleep with our running game, our screen passes, our tight ends, the things that we use so effectively in our offense. Puts you one play away from pay dirt at all times, and it makes a huge difference. You look at the Buffalo Bills. What would the Bills be without the big play wide receiver? What would the Chiefs be without Tyreek Hill? What? It's you don't get. I'm sorry, Tony, to talk about Stephon Diggs, but you don't get people like this just any time. And this is probably the richest wide receiver draft.
I think we're doing okay without Diggs. We got Jefferson and Thielen. We're pretty good.
Yeah, but still,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There are teams that would kill for that player,
right?
And there's a bunch of potential ones in this draft.
And like we talked about, with these extra assets, with your 2 third-round picks and your 2 fourth-round picks, that gives you leverage to move. And if somebody's willing to allow you to move top of the second round, or maybe even bottom of the first, if the right guy's there, that might be an option. Another guy I thought about, I don't know what you'd think about this, but guy that I kind of had in the back of my head is D.D. Westbrook. Him and Baker had a great connection at Oklahoma, and he's not. I don't think it would cost a whole lot to bring him in. At least try it out.
Yeah, that I guess what it really comes down to is the offensive scheme. And I can't help but think that Stefanski and OBJ are a bad marriage. They look at things from a different end of the spectrum. One guy is about catching the ball with one hand, making big plays down the field. Stefanski is a chess master. He's a guy who's going to beat you move by move, and he's going to lull you into thinking what's coming next, and then he will surprise you. He's going to use his weapons, but sparingly. He's not going to put a guy who's an outright sprinter at wide receiver out on the field 3 downs. He's going to have his multiple tight end formations with blocking.
Especially one that may get beat the hell out of every time he goes to throw a block. And that's the other thing. You don't know how some of these super fast receivers are, how good they are at blocking downfield. And that's the biggest component for the Stefanski offense.
The problem, Derek, with D.D. Westbrook is you're going to need patience with him. He's coming off that grueling ACL tear where they were saying that they won't even post the video on YouTube. That was how bad it was. So yeah, you'd need patience with that guy. And I just don't know if the Browns can be any really patient. They're at that time where they need something now.
Well,
it's too bad the Ravens wouldn't trade Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even Marquise Brown, there were questions about his ability to hold on to the ball. Again, there is being fast isn't enough. You got to be a route runner. You got to be able to catch the ball. You got to have good hands.
That's what John Ross was. He ran the fastest 40 time, blew everybody away, and couldn't catch anything.
And we've seen that a lot in the NFL over the course of history. I mean, there was a time if you played Ronaldo Nehemiah and he was an Olympic, sprinter kind of.
Or actually, the better example is Ron Brown for the Rams.
Yeah. Guy just
stone hands, but God bless him. He could fucking run a 10.5 in the 100 meters.
Well, would there have been a Cliff Branch if there wasn't a Bolitnikov? I mean, if you're really going back to the long...
Or Lynn Swan.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about a big play player is he impacts the game in one lump sum, not by playing a ton of downs. And
Willie Gault was another one for the Bears.
Yeah.
Super fast. Was on that sprinter team, but, he was iffy if he's going to come down with the ball or not.
Yeah, and what Cleveland understands at this point is we're trying to get incrementally better, and if we don't get the pass rusher that we want from free agency, then we can draft one. And if we have to go through another year of receivers, hoping that OBJ can come back and give us something, and then deal with Peoples-Jones and Higgins and Landry and just that mishmash of Kadarius Hodge type players.
Has Brashard Perriman signed anywhere yet? Do we know?
No, and I don't think the Browns will have any interest in him. The name's
Fred Perriman signed with the Lions.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yep, you're right.
Oh, there.
Yeah, he replaced Galladay.
Galladay,
yeah. So I don't know what I like is the notion that we have options. I do think we do need more outside speed, and outside speed is relative to who's covering you. And it's great to have a great route runner like Jarvis Landry, but Jarvis Landry isn't going to fool anybody into being a guy who's going to get deep on people. And you can only have so many people running over the middle of the field. It's through scheme and through having reliable guys with reliable hands. That big play player, makes a huge difference. And you look at a lot of the guys in the league who are, those Tyreek Hill kinds of guys, without the offensive line that buys Mahomes the time, what would Tyreek Hill be playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean, you get incrementally better by first establishing protection, a running game, the basics, and having good, sure-handed, capable receivers, and then you make the next step up by getting a guy who is explosive. And, it gives us, the opportunity. Funny, the headline that Rashard Higgins knew where he wanted to be. I mean, the market and free agent wide receivers was horrible, absolutely horrible. What Higgins knew is that he was familiar with the system, he could contribute, and what's the worst comes to worst, that he will sign someplace else for similar money, but with a couple of year deal next year, and have an
but he already had a great relationship with the quarterback. It's not like if you signed with another team. Look at the Jets. You don't know if they're going to have Sam Darnold. You don't know if they're going to have a different quarterback.
They better.
So, you go into these situations and you have no idea who the fuck you're going to be playing with.
And you know what I heard? I heard talking about this receiver market. Somebody said what probably happened with Juju, the reason why he came back to Pittsburgh was because he probably, got better offers from other teams because I can't imagine that he didn't based on Pittsburgh's cap situation, but they probably said, hey, you're going to have to cut it out with all this social media BS and all this crap. We're not going to put up with that. And he probably didn't like that. So he's probably going to come back to Pittsburgh on this 1 year deal. I think, what is it, $8 million or something? And then next year, try to cash out then. He doesn't like to be disciplined. Pittsburgh's culture is going down the drain quick.
Yeah,
And it's obvious.
It's kind of hard to keep the boat afloat. You take a look at the Browns wide receiving core. I mean, of Higgins and Daryl Hodge, those two guys are signed 1-year deals. What the Browns are basically saying is, when they can stopgap us and get us through this year, they've got to do something to get more bodies into that position, because the likelihood of both of those players being signed again next year are not particularly great, especially when you're looking at Landry's beaten up body and Odell Beckham, who's also high strung, not only from an injury perspective, but personally.
Well, and you need to draft somebody, because drafting allows you time, because you have those 4-year contracts where you don't have to be put in a situation where every year you're trying to re-sign Rashard Higgins or Kadero Hodge, and first round picks, you have that 5th year, but you don't even need that, with the receiving room the way it is. If you just get one guy that you feel like you can rely on, bring him in and lock him up for 4 years, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, for once, we're in a position where we can go any number of ways. I don't think Clowney's going to end up on the Browns. I don't think anybody believes it, and I think that he will eventually settle to play somewhere. And I think that it's going to be pretty much in that same, $6-7 million range. I don't see anybody putting a multi.
It'd be really funny if he ended up on the Cardinals with J.J. Watt.
Hey, there is a little bit of news with Clowney. Not that I'm just now saying this. It's not big news, but if you think this stuff matters, apparently he just now followed OBJ on Instagram. So if you think that matters at all, that's something.
Yeah. Again, it's not that I have any bad feelings about Jadeveon Clowney. This is really kind of the fork in the road for him. Which way it goes, it depends on where his career goes. And, to walk away from millions and millions and millions of dollars by making a bad decision, I understand that he has to be careful in what he does. And the Browns are not going to change their position on him. And for once, the pressure is not on the Browns. The pressure is on the player. And the player can't create an offer that does not exist. So I think that's, it's all good news for the Browns is what it amounts to. There were a few other things on the program today that it'll give you an idea of why the Browns are so important to us. The Indians traded Adam Plutko to the Baltimore Orioles for a can of Spam. The veritable player to be named later, or cash. If you didn't know Adam Plutko, he's 29 years old, and he couldn't crack the starting rotation, and the starting rotation really isn't that good. That would be what passes for news for the Cleveland Indians. We've got Tristan McKenzie, who looks like a reluctant dragon who's nibbling at the corners, who's having doubts about whether his stuff is good enough. And that is a dangerous thing. He struck out 16 men, but walked 12 in spring training. That cannot be a good sign. He's given up a large hit to inning ratio, and that can't be a good thing either. What are the Indians doing? Like I said, they got rid of Bobby Bradley and they went with Jake Bowers. And, it's the kind of thing that, I'll try to explain this in simple talk that us guys will understand, You ever date a girl who is really attractive?
No.
I'm sorry. But you ever date a girl and, it's like...
It's okay, Derek. We know you're a sex robot from Japan. It's not over.
Things are not working out necessarily so well, but you got nobody, okay? You know that if you give her the boot, then you're on your own. While you have the good-looking girlfriend, there's always the opportunity that somebody's going to say, there's a reason he's got such a good-looking girlfriend, and another woman will kind of I hate to use the expression fall into your lap, but you understand what I'm saying. The whole notion of, having something is sometimes better than just starting from scratch. The Cleveland Indians, they always want to use the explanation, but he's out of options. And that's like the girlfriend thing. I mean, Jake Bauers is out of options, because he's blown his chance. I mean, he wouldn't be at this crossroads if he hit better than 214. To me, it's stupid. It's like the guy who does and performs better ends up taking a seat and getting sent back down because he has an option left. And the thought of losing that girlfriend to somebody else, we did this with Russell Branion too, the thought of losing that person, and then you're the laughing stock of the league when Jake Bauers hits 320 and hits 26 home runs. That's a sign of weak ownership. You can't look at it that way. And if that's the way you're looking at your whole team, it's like, God, I'm afraid to get rid of him, because if I get rid of him, what if he does good somewhere else? And it happened with Jesus Aguilar. It happened. But so what? He hasn't been anything since. I mean, what is it you're trying to accomplish? It's not to create a better baseball team. It's defensive. It's Marty Schottenheimer times 30. It's like we got to protect the garbage that we have instead of taking a chance on garbage that might end up smelling better. I don't get it. And it's not analytics driven. It's nothing. Just a bunch of crap. And the Indians on, day 40 of spring training still don't know who's going to play center field. And by the way, they were rewarded. Jake Bauers made 2 errors in the first spring training game that he played in after he got the good news. Yada, yada, yada. I love this. The Cleveland Indians got an ice cream named for the team. Perry's Ice Cream Company has created chocolate cookie dough ice cream with crushed cookie swirls and cookie dough pieces. And you know what it's called?
Diabetes.
Eventually, yes. You're absolutely right. And then arthrosclerosis and death by congestive heart failure.
Loss of limb. Yeah.
Yes, amputation. No, the name of the ice cream is Doing Gone. All right. And I had to really think about this, and it's like I'm watching the Indians going, "Don't." So that word, I'm going. Don't. That's why the ice cream makes sense to me. Oh my God.
Sounds like something like a 60-year-old person came up with and said, "You know what? That's funny.
That's really hip. That's kind of hip and cute,
Yeah.
The kids will love it. Mark, you'll like this one. Lakers coach Vogel expecting big lift from Drummond's side.
Only if Drummond sucked his dick. That's the only big lift he's gonna get. I mean, yeah, and that story is up on my my browser as well. The whole thing. I mean, go figure. It's like 2 days after they cut him the buyout. It's like, I decided to play for the Lakers. It's like, really big surprise.
Yeah, like LaMarcus Aldridge went to Brooklyn. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, I hate the NBA. It's so predictable. I mean, there's nothing worse than a predictable heel turn in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Because, it's coming. The good ones are the ones like, what? I remember.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. What was the best heel turn you ever saw, Tony?
Hulk Hogan, 97.
Hulk Hogan.
The NWO.
Yeah.
Bash at the Beach? Yeah, that's the name of the show.
And then I'm trying to remember the guy, Bob Backlund. Do you remember Bob Backlund?
Oh, yeah, the cross-faced chicken wing.
Yeah. I mean, Bob Backlund was like a babyface his whole career, and then he turned into this crazy bastard. I mean, it was like, that's unbelievable. Bob Backlund's gone bat crazy.
Yeah.
Those are the good ones, but the predictable ones, it's like, no. Best Hulk Hogan match I ever saw was against The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
When he walks into the ring, the bad guy, and slowly goes by having his different wardrobe things torn off him, he becomes,
I wasn't alive, but when Stone Cold, I guess you could say, turned heel when he joined Vince instead of the long rivalry they had, I couldn't imagine if you were an invested fan at the time. I mean, that was the angle for the longest time, was this bitter rivalry between the authority figure and this guy who, didn't care, and then he joins them. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, but in the NBA, there are no good things. It's all predictable, and you knew it's just a matter of who the Nets going to get and who the Lakers going to get, and and it's just like charity for the rich.
Yeah, KD to the Warriors was the heel turn of the century in the NBA.
Yeah, and that was just like,
LeBron to the Heat was more of a heel turn.
Well, yeah,
that too.
Yeah,
but, I'll say this though, that LeBron James made the Heat a championship team. Okay, without him, it wouldn't have carried on. Durant, I mean, my God, at that point, how could they have lost? That was like the biggest bullshit. I'm going to grab. I expect that from Andre Drummond. I'm going to grab a ring, Yeah. But Durant, I mean, I never thought that he would stoop to that level. And what the Nets have got is, pelican-legged KD, they've gotten the guy whose legs go out from under him. And, they got Kyrie, who in every hot streak, when they get rolling, says, I have family problems. It's like,
yeah,
you do. Your father is a prick. That's your family problem right there. Throw him off the ends of the world. Oh, I forgot. You can't. It's flat.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Kyrie was.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, this guy could ruin a wet dream. Honest to God. Ever since he made the big 3-point shot, he started hating on LeBron, hating on all of his teammates. He's gone crazy. That guy has gone loopy.
He was good in Uncle Drew. I enjoyed that movie. That's about it.
Yeah, but Durant's legacy now is he's just become the extra player, he's, and I don't mind. You see, I guess it doesn't bother me so much if Kevin Garnett wants to go on to a team because he gave his heart and soul to Minnesota, right?
Yep.
I mean, if in the end he wants to move on up and get himself some hardware, I can't blame the man. And I don't blame LeBron James. He left Cleveland at a time when, look what he left behind. He left behind a roster of guys who were old.
Yeah, Jawad Williams.
Yeah, I mean, it was time to go, and his career needed that boost. I never got mad at LeBron for going to Miami, and nor did was I surprised that he came back to Cleveland. And was I mad that he went to the Lakers? No, his business interests are in Los Angeles, and he's a grown man now with a son who's up in the high school. And it's going to be hard for that young man. Not hearing too much about Bronny. His freshman year, I think he only played like 8-9 minutes a game.
I think
He's very active on social media.
I thought he tore his ACL or something like that.
Yeah, a knee. He had the torn cartilage in his knee. And that doesn't bode well either. That doesn't bode well because once you have that, then you start the thinning and the wearing of the cartilage, and arthritis becomes definitely in that young man's future.
I know he streams a lot.
kind of miss those. I kind of miss those LeBron-less Cavs teams. It just Austin Carr, whenever Jawad Williams would hit a three, he shot a hot wad in the queue.
No, he didn't say that.
Yeah, he did.
No, I hope to God
Austin
he didn't
Carr.
say that.
Well, he didn't say those, but he referred to him as they referred to him as Hot Wad Williams. And it's like, God.
Oh no, that is wrong.
Deep in the queue. Hot Wad.
Thank you, Trip in the Head. Thank you. I lurk and listen, not trolling. I'm not. I don't know who accused you of trolling. You
Well,
just-
Tony, I just narrowly avoided pulling a Stephen Rose.
Oh God, let's not. No. Steven, God.
What about him?
He is.
He apparently had a bowel movement.
No, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
other night. Yeah, Steven is doing these fucking podcasts like
Uh,
Saturday
Nightly
night.
at like 3 a.m. I wake
Saturday
up to
night
go
he
to the
was on
bathroom
from
or whatever.
11 a.m. or 11 p.m. I was fucking playing PlayStation because the bars close at 11 here in Minnesota still for COVID restrictions. So I get a notification, Stephen Rose is live. I'm like, okay. So I tune in. He starts talking Rockets, which I can vaguely listen to him bitch about the Rockets for 20 minutes. And so I get drunk and I pass out. I wake up at 6 a.m. to take a piss, and he's still on the air. He's still on the air, talking about sexting, having sex with women, and it's like thinking men are cute and talking about eating ass and fucking.
Oh my gosh! I
No,
know,
getting his
it's so
ass
fu-
eaten.
Yeah, getting his ass eaten by other.
Oh my- it's so funny because it's true. Because I've done the same thing, Tony. I'm woken up to go to the bathroom. And he's
Then-
live at like
about the ass eating, I didn't like the chicken nuggets the first time around.
And then he was bitching the other night about because the Rockets were up on the Timberwolves by 17 points. And the Rockets didn't score for the last 8 minutes of the game, and the Wolves came back to win. And Steven Silas, you dumb motherfucker. I want you fired, you useless piece of shit. And then all of a sudden you're like a roar in the background. And he's like, oh, I gotta go. Have a good night, guys. Bye. So, I think he shit his pants.
Hey, Lamar Jackson.
He shit his pants yelling about the Rockets. It was the best show ever.
And then, and even better is Brittany in her olive oil voice saying, "Steven, did you just shit your pants?"
Yeah, I look at the chat room and Steven, did you just shit yourself? Are you okay?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, if they lose like that, and they're up, and it looks like they're going to win, and then they lose. I mean, it's like it's a good thing that you got notified that he was on the air, but that's hilarious. Falling asleep and waking up, and he's still there.
I follow him just for it makes you feel better about yourself.
I love watching the intros. That's the best. The 2-minute long, no words, just facial expressions, face palms.
When the Timberwolves
Size.
took the lead, he wasn't even watching the game. And I put in the chat room the Timberwolves just took the lead, and you could just hear silence. You gotta be fucking kidding me! As loud as he could.
Yeah, I saw that one too. It's like, is he going to say something? Does he know he's on the air? What is he doing? I'll do this as best I can. I stood there watching that for like.
I still can't believe he was talking about getting his ass eaten. I was like, what the fuck?
Now you know what Brittany
You're gonna
does.
fucking kill me here. You're gonna kill me.
Yeah,
I mean,
he literally.
my God.
Somebody he's got these randos in the chat room. And they go, yeah, I like a good girl to sit on my face. He goes, no, I like to sit on their face. I'm like, what?
What the fuck? Oh, we need somebody to make a best of moments of these 6-hour streams.
You'd have to watch every single show, and you'd want to fucking commit suicide.
You know, I don't feel bad that he's not on the program these days because what he's doing is far more entertaining than anything I would ever allow to go on here.
Do you imagine him joining this show? Speaking of Browns, what do you think of getting your ass eaten, Mister?
Yeah, we thought OBJ was bad. Oh my gosh.
Oh fuck!
I keep thinking ass eating, then him and holding the cat. Thinking, like,
Supposedly he got rid of his cat.
he did.
Yeah, the
The
cat.
cat probably ran away.
I mean, he was really attached to that cat.
Supposedly he mentioned on a show that the cat is no longer with him.
Oh wow!
So-
Must have been a custody battle.
Fucking protective services came and said, "Get the fuck out!"
Cat going into protective ASPCA. All right, enough of this. We got to get out of here. This has brought the show to an absolute new all-time low.
Welcome to the off season, folks.
Every so often, I think to myself, why do I have panelists? And then,
Magical moments like Esteban shitting himself.
yeah, I'll tell you. The other thing is, I have panelists, and if he joins, I'll have an analyst. So, God Almighty! Thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope you weren't eating.
Thanks for stopping by.
And if you were, hopefully it wasn't chicken nuggets in a bowl with a bunch of fucking barbecue sauce.
His viewership's going to go through the roof after people listen to this. They're going to be going, "What am I missing?"
What is it? What does he go by? What is his handle?
It's Steven
Stephen
Rose.
Rose.
Just on Twitter.
Yes. Oh no, he's not on Twitter. He's on Instagram. He has one post, but he's on YouTube. It's YouTube Steven Rose.
Okay, so he's not. All right.
How long's he been on YouTube?
I have no idea. He claimed like 2 years at one point, but there are videos of him from like 3 years ago going to Rockets games and
I saw him doing
wearing like
old
clown
wrestling
masks and-
reviews.
yeah.
I don't know when it was from, but I saw that it was suggested on my timeline, or not timeline, my YouTube.
I don't know
thing.
what does it tell you about you now if he's talking about ass eating and it's recommended to you by YouTube?
Well,
It's
That
like
wasn't recommended. It was old videos.
yeah.
guilt by association. I mean, it's like I don't even know the guy. I really don't.
Yeah.
All right,
I
everybody.
want to. Never mind.
Ron Shane, nice seeing you here at the end. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for stopping by,
Thanks for
King.
stopping in, Ron.
The show was better back in the beginning, Ron. Really.
The show was better 7 minutes ago.
Guy was coming in for, thinking that I'm going to get the rerun, It's like, no. You're
Anal seepage.
Now, this is really an unintentional, disturbing comment here. I don't know what kind of residual you're looking for. Probably corn, like a kernel of corn. I got to get out of here. Thanks, everybody.
Brought to you by Angel Soft.
Move Ahead Radio. Back again on Friday, I promise, and we'll clean our act up.
No, we're gonna do
Maybe.
a watch
I hope we'll
along
clean
to
our
his last
asses up.
stream.
All right, everybody. Have yourselves a good evening, and as always, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.